Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate.
And today we're doing a review on Block Ness by Blue Orange Games.
In Block Ness, players are going to be playing as Loch Ness Monsters, putting their Loch Ness Monster pieces into the loch or lake, trying to be the longest creature that stays alive for the longest in the game. Let's take a look at it on the table.
Hey there, I've got Block Ness on the table here. Let me show you how this game works. In Block Ness, you are actually going to be using the box bottom to play on. It's your surface as you have this board that has all these holes punched into it that you're going to place on top of the insert. And that's going to be your playing surface. As you can see, it's a lake or a loch. And so that is where you're going to be playing. Everyone has their colored pieces here. You've got black, you have purple, green, and orange. And everybody has a special smaller piece that's your starting piece, along with a Loch Ness Monster head and a tail. And so everybody has that set to the side. The youngest player is going to go first, taking their special piece and placing it somewhere in the dark blue region. Your first piece has to go in the dark blue region. Now, if you're playing with only 2 players, then you can only play the entire game in the dark blue region. If you're playing with 3 players, you can play in this middle ring that's a little bit lighter. And then if you're playing all 4 players, you can play the entire board. But again, your first piece has to go right in the middle. And all players are going to do this, placing their special starting piece. And you have to place them either straight line, up and down, side to side. You cannot go diagonal in this game. And then coming back to the first player, they are going to choose which end is going to be the dragon or the Loch Ness Monster head and which one's going to be the tail. And we'll just say that this is the head and this is the tail here. And all players would do that. And so once that was done, then players are going to take turns placing pieces, making their Loch Ness Monster bigger. And the way this works is that you can place it one space adjacent to your head. So this spot here, this spot there, or the spot that you can't see back there would be valid placements, or one space to your tail, there, or back there on that one. And whichever you pick, you are going to extend your monster. So I can't pick right here because I go off the board. I have to stay on the board, and I can't go right there either. However, I could place back here like so, and that would be a legal spot, and I would extend my Loch Ness Monster head to that side, and that would be my turn. And then the next players would go. And you can go over other pieces, other dragon pieces. So for instance, if the black player wanted to, let's do this perhaps, maybe. Yeah, that would work. They could go over both the purple and green player like so, and they would extend the tail or the head, obviously, but you cannot go underneath pieces. So the orange player could not do something like this. You can't go underneath a piece. You also can't play a piece that's the same exact height and like try to nudge them out of the way. That's illegal. And so you just have to keep going over other pieces or try to stay away from them. That's the other idea. So game continues until all players are stuck and they have no valid movements left. And then whoever has the fewest pieces left over is going to be the winner. Now, typically what usually happens in the game of Block Ness is that one player ends up playing all of their pieces. Not always, but usually. And if there are more than one player who has played all of their pieces, then it's going to go off of whose Loch Ness Monster head is higher up. Not all pieces are equal. Some are shorter than others. And so you want to try and save your highest piece for one that you can leave your head on at the end of the game, because that is the tiebreaker. And that is how you play Block Ness. Let's go back up top and we're going to share our thoughts on this game.
Okay, so here we are, and we're going to share our thoughts on this game, and you can see that Sam and I and 2 of our children are doing a 4-player playthrough of Block Ness. We're going to share our thoughts on this game. And I'll go first. And this is obviously just a short, not a very long, spatial 3D kind of game that you are going to be twisting and turning and just trying to do everything that you can to stay alive as long as possible. Trying to put other players in bad situations too, if you can. And I think that's a clever idea, and I think it works really well in the 15-20 minutes that this game takes.
Yeah.
Sam, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I'm always looking for games that we can play with our kids. There's a lot that we can play with our 6 and 9-year-old, but not a ton that we can play with our 3-year-old. He obviously didn't understand everything, but he came very close to understanding everything. But it was still fun for me and Lance too. So I think it's a wide range of ages. It says 8+, but I would definitely lower that, and not because it's too childish, but it's just pretty easy to understand.
Right. And I think there's something to be said for the colors that they used in this game too.
Yeah.
It definitely does appeal to kids with the kind of the not neon colors necessarily, but they're
contrasting.
And they're friendly. They're welcoming colors with the green and the orange. And so I think it appeals to families. And I think this is an excellent family game that a lot of families are going to find works really well for them. Like Sam said, it's not a kid's game because it's going to definitely take some thinking to do well. But at the same time, it's not as though you have to be a genius to want to win in this game.
And it's a little luck based too, just based on everybody else and what's left around you.
Yeah.
But I mean, our 3-year-old got it. He understood that he had to put his pieces next to his pieces, and he didn't understand maybe strategy as much, but he understood and could move his pieces by himself.
And I think he understood that I want to try to stay away from everyone else as long as possible, because that's going to give me the best options for placing my next piece.
Whereas our 6-year-old was very interested in going over people's pieces and how close can I get but still win.
Yeah. And so I think that just goes to show that there are multiple ways you can take this game and approach it and still do very well in it. I especially really enjoyed the fact that everybody feels like they're still in it all the way up to the very end.
Yeah.
You don't ever really feel like, man, I'm doing terrible in this game until it's almost over. And then you're like, oh no,
and we played
I'm dead.
a couple of rounds too.
And that you're exactly right. We were able to fit a couple of playthroughs in 25 minutes, probably so. So it says 15 minutes on the box. I think it's probably more like 10 minutes, honestly.
Yeah. Probably more 15 if you're not playing with 4 people.
Yeah, probably so. Now the board does shrink. We mentioned this in the rules overview. The board does shrink for fewer players, so I think it scales well. 2, 3, and 4 players. But this is one that has a 3D element to it, and the busier that gets, the cooler it looks on the table. So I would say I would always want to play this with 4 players, but that isn't to say that it's not a good game if you're playing it with only 2 people.
Yeah, and I think when you put it all together, it's kind of like a toy, and that's what's appealing to kids.
Yeah, that is a good point. It is kind of like a toy. At the same time, I think it's a fabulous game. I think it's a really good game. So
yeah, we had a really good time playing it.
So Sam, real quick, getting your thoughts here as the non-gamer, what are your pros about Block Ness?
I mean, it's very simple to learn. It's very quick. It works for a wide range of ages. And I mean, it's just enjoyable.
Okay. Any cons?
I mean, it may be a little too simple for some people. This probably isn't the game to get out when you have like your 3 best hardcore gamers over.
Sure.
But I think it's great for any gamer that has kids to have on their shelf.
And to that, I would say, they're not marketing this game for the heavy hardcore gamers. Obviously, I mean, the way it looks, and like you said, it's shaped like a toy. All right. I mean, it's got these plastic pieces that bend and everything. So I think for what it's marketed for, it's perfect. Yeah, absolutely perfect. So 2 thumbs up as far as playing with non-gamers on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And Absolutely agree. This is a fantastic family game. All right, so Sam, scale of 1 to 10, love to hate. What do you give Block Ness?
I'm going to kind of use a different scale, still 1 to 10, but more of games that we can play with the kids. And in that category, I mean, I'd give it a 9.5.
Dang.
I mean, that's not in overall all games I've played, but when you're putting it in the category of things we can play with the kids, this is definitely one of my top 5.
Wow, top 5. Wow. If I go in that same kind of mindset that Sam's talking about, I definitely would rate this very high. I'd probably say maybe a 9. Because it is one that definitely, it's fun. It's got that toy element to it. If I'm not going to use that same rating scale and I'm going to look at it from a gamer's perspective, I still think this is a very great game. I would give it probably a 7.2.
Yeah.
Definitely one that I would want to keep playing. If you ask me to play it, yeah, I'm down. Let's play it. So high marks for Block Ness. All right, so there you go. That's Block Ness from Blue Orange Games.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button so you get notifications of all our new content. And also check out our website linked below.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.